Welcome to video 70, Empire Total War United Provinces, played on hard. Had a couple of days off. I had to ponder some things before I continued. Spending a lot of resources just holding back France all the time with that fort. They keep attacking me and I'm holding the fort, but the troops in the fort are doing nothing for me other than continually taking money and resources off the French. I have been asked the question, why don't you attack the French or wipe out the French or whatever? There's a variety of reasons for that. If you wipe them out, then I think I've mentioned this before, Martinique turns to piracy. Well, I've taken Martinique now, so we're okay. You need dragoons to settle it. Well, I've recently got the technology that's going to enable me to create dragoons, so I might well be in a position now to attack France. The only thing is, I do need to be able to generate some wealth while I'm holding it, because it costs a lot in troops. At the moment I'm just wrecking his economy again, as usual, several times in and out of each of those buildings. Just keep him on his toes, reduce the number of troops he produces, or the type of troops that he produces. I've done that with all three areas there in France, as I normally do. Really, I'm starting to feel, you see I've got some dragoons in there now, starting to feel I can get a bit of a dragoon build-up. Europe don't seem to be doing anything to me at all to attack me at the moment, so I feel never quite safe, but you know, I don't know, I'm pretty good at defending these fortresses, so I feel fairly confident about that. Just checking the troops in the Alsace-Lorraine one there, of course. I've got the French in the middle of my territory. This is another thing that's bugging me, you know, because he's obviously wrecking the economy and I can't afford that. My navy's big enough now, and I'm successful enough with the navy to be able to make prize money out of it, so I'm hoping if I attack France I'll be able to gain enough money from my fleets, or by using my fleets. Here we are over in Ceylon. You do have to be careful with Ceylon. You know, it is vulnerable to an attack from the Marathas. It depends on how successful they've been in their own territory against the Marathas. The Marathas and the Mughals. So, oh, by the way, this is the gent that I thought I'd picked up last time. I went all the way over to the school and found I hadn't even got him on board. So this time we're definitely going to get the gent on board. Oh, and get him over to the school over there. This is the problem when you've got a university or a school on an island. You know, your gentlemen appear in various places. You then have to ferry them over to the place where the school is. Probably my fault, really. The principal city and the theatre is the one generally where the gentlemen are raised, which annoys me a bit, really, because I think it should be the place where the school is. It should be the place next to the school, but anyway, there you go. Gentlemen, I suppose, or rather scholars, can be born anywhere, can't they? So I suppose I just have to live up to that idea. Okay, so we'll move those over, get them into the school there, so we can start developing our technologies a bit quicker. You probably know we're driving towards the socket bayonet. That's the thing that we most want. We can be more aggressive once we've got the socket bayonet. One of our problems, I know I've said it loads of times, is the French infantry close up. They're dangerous. They fight on a better factor than mine do, basically. So I need to give my own troops a bit of an advantage. Okay, so this is now all about the build-up. It's consolidating for tax purposes, sorting out the ministers to make sure that we've got the correct people in place to maximise the income from each particular theatre. That's, you know, the Americas or Europe or Asia. It would seem that the Dutch really need a foreign economy and foreign trade, but the trouble is they don't seem to have the same advantages that other nations have, in that you know, the Prussians will be given a technological advance in before the game even starts. So will the British in terms of the sea power and also a decent navy. Each gets its own advantages, and whilst I might get more trade ships in the trade theatre to begin with, I haven't really got any decent ships to defend them or establish those trade routes. Or rather consolidate those trade routes. I think it would have been nice to have had some kind of commercial basin, something where I could trade with more people as the Dutch, or perhaps friendlier people around me, perhaps not friendly in terms of alliances, but in terms of trading, the Dutch were very, very famous traders throughout the whole of Europe, with India and all over the known world. Even in my particular period of interest, the era of the Stuarts, in the 17th century, the Dutch were very famous for it. In fact, a Dutchman was a name for a ship, a merchant ship. That's what we called them, a Dutchman. We had the Dutch East India Company, didn't we? So I mean, really, I would think that there should be some advantage given to the Dutch, perhaps for overseas trade in particular. But I've struggled to gain alliances because of my Protestantism. I had very, very dangerous neighbours with me who I think really should have traded with me, even if they're not happy with me. They should have still traded with me. But anyhow, it has caused me a bit of a problem, and I'm thinking I'm going to have to break with tradition. I was rather hoping to set up a foreign empire. The trouble is, the Americas, as you can see, that each of the islands has its own religion. I can't build churches everywhere because it would damage the economies too much, so I can't convert them. Now that's fair enough that we shouldn't convert them, but it does mean that it's a struggle to get anything from these islands, and they're not very productive islands in terms of their individual economies. So I do think it's a real struggle. Anybody taking on the Dutch hard like this will find it very hard, I'm absolutely certain. But anyhow, that's the gripe over with, really. But I've been pondering this for the last couple of days. Which way do I go? And the main thing is a break with history. To invade France and to capture France for the Dutch to do in this period is just absolutely, totally ridiculous. There's no way it would have happened. In the 30 Years' War, the French really kept the Dutch at bay. All the Protestant nations, the German princes, the democratic Dutch, the United Provinces, that is, and it was only really the British eventually that were able to really establish a strong Protestant base, or at least support one throughout the rest of Europe. Going all the way up into Queen Anne's days, which we do here, and then up into George's days. When we start to get Marlborough and the Marlborian campaigns, in the early 1700s. So I think I'm going to have to break with history. That's what I've been moaning about all this time. I hope you've been watching the screens. I could be talking through exactly what's happening on here, and but I think you can see what I'm doing for yourself, really. I've decided, this is my strategy, that my navy is going to have to be an important source of income. It's made some money for me, you've seen that. It's going to have to make more. If I have to raise armies, they're going to be able to fight the French. I'm going to need a lot of money to feed those armies, there's no doubt about it. If I'm going to replenish the casualties received, that's going to cost me money as well. If I'm going to hold key areas in France, then I'm going to need armies for that as well. All that is going to be extremely costly. Now, the fleet, I'm not going to be able to be spending money on the fleet, so the fleet is going to have to really take a lot of hits. Now I'm going to stand it next to this Hanoverian one now, just to see if I can get a little bit of support from there, and raid on the trade routes as well for now. Well, this fleet is going to have to do a lot of work for me. There are Spanish galleons out there, there are some fourth rates out there, there are some powerful nations that they're going to have to go in against now to try and get me. So there's going to be some messy sea battles, folks, and I'm going to lose some ships. But I mean, so what? I mean, that will reduce the amount that I'm spending on ships as well. These are just going in there to hold the port for now. That port should be fairly safe, touch wood, but if you leave anything vulnerable in this game, the enemy will go for it, there's no doubt about it. Okay, just check through all the sectors, doing the usual things. I've done the taxation, done the ministers and stuff, wrecked the French economy, prepared my fleet, building up my dragoons, moving everything forward, ready to go really, probably for that major assault on France. Ceylon seems safe, never is. Might look it, you try leaving it and see what happens. Just build up the economy there. Now I've got a good fortress there and decent troops in there, or I'm starting to build up some decent troops. Believe you me, the Marathas invade that, they bring elephants, they bring horse, and they bring particularly vicious close combat troops as well that pile in over your walls. You really do need something to defend against that.